All right, guys, good morning. Eric here, and just doing a local loop today. It's over there on the left at SJPL. That's where they drive the Mars rover and communicate with aliens and you know, send messages to the Voyager spacecraft. This particular ride is a little bit of a workout on a big bike, but I'm trying to limit the use of my trail bike because I want to sell it. I'm just about ready to pull the trigger on the new trail bike, on the Phos Mixer that I was reviewing a couple of weeks ago. This bike's a little bit of a workout to muscle up the hill, but it's once in a while, it's not bad. It does get to be a bit much when I have to do it every single day though. Obviously it's a certain tool for a certain job. Fortunately, the first mile or so of this climb, it's kind of flat or even downhill, and then it's 3 miles up. It's not huge. It's about 1,500 feet of elevation gain from where I park. So as I said before, this is a multi-use trail, and on a weekday morning like this, it's usually not too busy, but you know, there's people going to be out, and that's why I've got this Timberbill I really like, because I guess you just put it on my bar and it's right under my thumb. So if I'm coming up on somebody, all I have to do is, you know, well, sometimes it sticks. I can just shake the bars like that, and it will usually get the attention of the person in front of me. Hopefully they don't have their headphones in, or they're just being oblivious on their phone or something. But it works a lot better than the old school cowbell, because this has a higher pitch. It carries down the hill a lot easier. All right, and here's where we start going up. Still relatively flat, but from here on in I have to earn it. So solo ride like this is kind of where I can kind of think about some different stuff, but what I'm doing, what I want to do, what I'm gonna do, what I've done. You know, with this whole shutdown, especially with gyms in LA still being shut down, it doesn't look like they're gonna open anytime soon. And same thing with musicians. There's no work for them either. Or I should say us, because I'm one of them. It's leaving me kind of reevaluating what I do, how I figure things out. That's why I've been spending more time on my YouTube channel, bringing you guys this content, but also looking into bringing more fitness content, different types of workouts, and how I can make that profitable and beneficial. You know, profitable for me, beneficial for you guys. Be on the lookout for some new ways that I'll be pushing my workouts. Up until now, I've just been doing Facebook Live workouts, which have been great, with a modicum of success, I guess. But I need to step it up now. I've been doing that now for almost 6 months, and it's time for a new level, because it looks like that's something I'll be doing for the long term. It's always a tough spot right here. The key is stay high to the right. So I'm thinking of, one of the things I'm thinking of, and this could evolve over time of course, is putting together not only general workouts like what I would provide at the gym I worked at, but also bike specific workouts, especially for, you know, like gravity riders like myself, you know, that are looking for a little bit of extra fitness to handle rough trails, big bikes, big hits, things like that. You know, prevent injuries, come back from injuries easier, and so on and so forth. I'm at a few spots on the climb here where I get a little bit of respite. Actually just kind of sit and spin for a minute. One thing that's funny about this bike compared to my trail bike is I get asked about it all the time, especially at the Sky Park, for example, where I have to pedal up instead of using the chairlift. But whatever. A place like Sky Park, the climb's are 10 minutes long. You know, I can manage 10 minutes at a time. Then there's a rest, and then I can ride down, and so on. And it's just kind of, it's funny to me how there are now, at this point in the history of mountain biking, so many different types of bikes. Because when I first started riding, which is 17 or 18 years ago, when it came to mountain bikes, at least in terms of, you know, the types, if you will, it was cross-country bikes. And cross-country basically was viewed as, at least in my eyes, was viewed as roadies who felt like getting in dirt once in a while, you know. And then downhillers had these monstrous things, supremely overbuilt downhill rigs, all still on 26-inch tires, mind you. And that was pretty much it. And then somewhere in between was free ride. And like I said, it's just 17 or 18 years ago. And that's when guys like Vanderham and Bearcloth, and all those guys were doing the free ride thing. Steve Pete and Greg Menard were still kings of the downhill world. The lines were pretty well defined between the different disciplines. So when I got into it, it's when the concept of an enduro bike was just starting to come about, but the discipline of enduro didn't exist yet. You know, if you wanted to race, it was either XC or downhill. You know, choose one or the other. But that's right about the time that Specialized was putting out a bike called the SX Trail. If I remember correctly, it was a Trail 1 and a Trail 3. I had a Trail 3 that I loved. I basically just rode that bike into the ground. Believe it or not, I still have the fork for that bike. Just hanging on the wall in my garage with a set of handlebars on it that I use as a paper towel holder. So it's a little homage to that bike that served me so well for so long. But anyway, so enduro starts coming out. I remember when I bought that Trail 3, I was torn between that bike and the original Specialized Demo. And some of you may remember that, was this monstrous tank of a bike with these huge links. Had this funky, like, triple swing arm thing in the back. Now, that was a bike that weighed 1,000 pounds, it seemed. But it was, I was interested in it because I wasn't really doing a lot of distance riding. You know, it was a cool place to ride. That was literally pedaling distance from my house. This is when I lived back, I was living about 30 miles west of Boston, and I was riding an area of trails called Vietnam in a town called Milford, Massachusetts. So do some Googling and you'll find a bunch of videos about that place. And if you're ever in that area, it's well worth a visit. But the guys at the shop strongly recommended I get the Trail 3 instead. And they saw the enduro concept coming. So the Trail 3 basically was a predecessor to the Specialized Enduro. I think it was a year or two later they came out with what they called the Enduro. And I'd be curious of what the origin of enduro, if the word enduro was originated by Specialized themselves, or did it come from somewhere else? I don't know. To me, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. So it was riding bikes like that that kind of really, I guess, solidified me as the kind of guy that rides big bikes, big travel bikes, you know. And since then, I don't think I've had a bike with shorter than 160 travel in the front. So I've always kind of gone with long travel, which is why I never really seem to have a problem muscling a big bike up a hill like this. In fact, this morning I was cruising YouTube and came across a video from Vital The point of the video was to test an Öhlins dual crown fork, but I decided to slap it on the front of an, I forget offhand what frame it was, but it was a quote-unquote enduro frame. Now they were calling that Down Duro, which is basically the enduro bike with a downhill fork on the front. And the funny thing is, I did something like that, and I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of guys who've done that. To simply take the downhill bike and put a dropper post on it, a little bit of a wider range of cassette in the back, maybe a little bit of a smaller chain ring in the front, and they could use that to winch themselves to the top of the hill and bomb down, you know. So I mean, I did that with an Intense, actually I started doing it with my Intense M6. Then when I had the Intense M16, I did that for a couple of years. I even did a few enduro races with it, along with a bunch of downhill races. And people would look at it and thought I was nuts. Like, almost like I was breaking some sort of weird rule by putting a dropper post on a downhill bike. And my thing is, first off, it's my bike, I'll do whatever the hell I want with it. But also, who cares? Got a dropper post that fits your bike? Put it on there. If it's not, you know, the geometry might be a little off in terms of like the steepness of the seat tube, but if all it is to spend a few minutes to get to the top of a hill, then it doesn't really matter. Now, if you're racing, that's a different story. If you're racing enduro, you should have an enduro bike. Now, that's one thing I learned when I did use the M16 on the enduro races. I thought it was kind of funny how, you know, this Vital video comes up like it was a new idea. My trail bike, for example, is the Foz FXR, and I run a 180 Fox 36 on that, which admittedly is a lot of bike. You know, just the frame's too short for me. That's why I haven't been riding it. A friend of mine also has an FXR that he put a Boxer on the front and just changed the air shaft, so it also is 180. It just says a dual crown 180, and he sends that into some big stuff, basically what any downhill bike would do. People have been experimenting with this stuff for years. You know, I think it's just funny how other folks may look at it and say, well, that's wrong because it's supposed to be this, because it says so on some chart somewhere. In fact, I was having so much fun on the mixer last week, and the idea of having the 29er in the front, that I'm considering getting a Fox 49 for this. This bike's about a year old, a little over a year old, so I might be due for a suspension upgrade, because I did flog this thing pretty good the past year and a half. Nothing wrong with it, but try to stay ahead of things. You know, Fox has updated their damper a little bit. This frame, if I take care of it, it'll last me multiple years. If I can keep it relevant by just upgrading the suspension and keeping good components on it, taking care of it, replacing the pivots and such. Pivot bearings, that is. Went to almost a little bit of a flat spot here. I can take a break or just sit and spin. You know, it doesn't really smell smoky. We've had some bad fires around here the past week or so. Yesterday there was a bunch of ash that was falling in our yard. It's coating all the cars. Don't really smell it or feel it. This haze here looks more marine layer to me, which is fine because it's keeping the temperature down. A couple days ago it was extremely hot here. Fortunately, I was up in the mountains, but my wife was telling me down here it was 112, 113 degrees. Tough couple of days, and the fires weren't helping. I feel real bad for those firefighters that had to go and put on all that gear and in that heat and then go face a forest fire. I've had some pretty shitty jobs in my day. I don't know if that's something I could do. I imagine it's rewarding when you save houses and save lives and get the fire out, but when you're in the middle of it, that's got to be the definition of hell right there. So kudos to those guys and girls. A lot of women that do that too. So I've got a new line here. That's a little better. That one's kind of exposed right there. Never had a problem with it, but you know, why risk falling off the side of the hill? That goes down about 100 feet over there. Not much longer to go. Well, probably about 1.5 miles. All right, got one more push coming up here. Goes up and around. Basically on the other side, that hill over there, it levels out for the last quarter mile or so. Somebody was scoping out this bike at one of the parks. And again, this is somebody who, well, to my estimation at least anyway, is just riding the newest stuff, the latest, greatest, blah, blah, blah. Hey, good for him. That's fine. I wish I could. I wish I could run out and roll a bike over every 6 months. But I'm not in a position to do that. I don't want to do that. I can understand maybe the annual, if you're a professional, a semi-pro, or even a privateer racer with the funds, and you want to get the current model year bike for race season. I totally understand that. But one, I can't afford it. Two, I just like this bike. Like I said a few minutes ago, we're just keeping it current by maintaining it, changing pivot bearings and upgrading suspension. I can keep this bike for a few years, at least, you know, until a drastic upgrade comes around. Like, for example, this bike is 27.5 front and rear. I'm pretty sure I could get away with, well, actually I've seen it. I've seen another hydro rider at Snow Summit with a 29 in the front. He says he loves it. He just adjusted the stanchion tubes just a little bit to make sure that the bottom bracket height's the same. So there's that. But this particular guy said it 2 or 3 times to me, and using his words, the only thing wrong with this bike, quote unquote, was my rear brake rotor he felt was a little small. You know, like, of all the things to be picking on. See, that's actually one of the things that kind of bugs me. Because I see it in the music world too, people picking on each other's guitar. They don't like certain pickups or certain strings or how you have your guitar set up or whatever. It's a personal thing. So therefore, the size of my brake rotor should be nobody's business, as long as I can stop. And moreover, if I'm behind you and I can stop before running you over, that's really all you should be worried about. Otherwise, the size of my brakes, it's none of your business. Yeah, it's one easy day. I'm not gonna hang up here too long. A lot of bees flying around, which I'm not really worried about bees, but why get stung if I don't have to? Bees generally leave me alone. I respect their space, they respect mine. You can probably hear them buzzing around, but I'll leave them to their space. All right, turn my bell on. All right. Got a little bit of water running on the trail again. So I didn't bother cleaning my bike last night, because I knew I'd get it dirty again today. I'll clean it when I get home today. So apparently some of these forest fires, one of them, I guess the one out in Yucaipa, was started by somebody doing a gender reveal party. You know, and that's kind of got a lot of people mad. You know, this is out in Yucaipa, out in the Inland Empire. It's hot, it's dry. I mean, people tend to forget this is a desert out here. Even close into LA like this, near the shore. And these idiots decided to use smoke bombs to reveal the gender of their baby. I mean, My brother and his wife did that once, a gender reveal party, and they used colored balloons. That would suffice, I think. You know, I mean, if you really want to make a big deal out of the birth of your child, which I guess I understand, I don't have kids, but there's much more common sense ways of telling people if it's a boy or a girl. Don't set the whole forest on fire. Right here is where having a downhill bike is a little tough. I always just I'll put a foot out, screw it. I don't care. Not that elegant, but it gets me around the corner. Got a spot to take a break, get a swig. All right, I always tell my personal training clients, when in doubt, take a sip. As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as overhydrating. Morning. It's still morning, right? Yeah, 10:48. Yeah, good. At the timing of that one. It's probably every third time I go through, I actually get the timing right. With my pedal strokes, I don't either hang up or bang my pedals on the rocks. It's always a tight spot. Always put a foot out. You know, getting back to the Trail 3 I was talking about a little while ago. I still have the handlebars to that bike. I look at them, they were cut to 600, I think it was 680 mil. 660 or 680. And the ones I'm using now are a full 800. And there are some bars that now come like 820, which I think that's a bit much, but 800 works for me. In fact, on the FXR, I cut those to 760 and they're too narrow. They go back to 800. So to make a long story short, when I first started riding here on that bike, it was much easier to get past that tree. Now with these big wide bars, it's a little bit of negotiation. It's pretty funny how that drop on a trail bike, it's a legit drop. On this bike, I can pretty much roll it.
Now, unbeknownst to me, the Bobcat fire was getting worse, and I didn't realize that the forest was in the process of being closed down.
Well, they're not letting people out?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was so pointless because we just walked up to the thing and came down. Like,
it's really bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know if somebody just personally felt that there were too many people on the trail. It's really bizarre.
Probably.
Yeah, I think
You know?
so too. Especially with the pink.
Right, yeah. It would be, if it were Forest Service, it would be,
With orange, right? Or
yeah,
yellow
orange or something, yeah.
I still don't know if it was a neighbor or the Forest Service that put that
Sometimes the
tape up.
neighbors, they take it upon themselves to
Oh, yeah.
police the trails, you know. Oh well. You guys take care. That was weird. I've seen all sorts of strange things. You know, people engaging in vigilante justice like that to you know, to claim the trail or claim that they're helping law enforcement control the you know, the area or what have you, and it's all, of course, is nonsense. I remember one time I was riding down here, this very same trail, with a friend of mine, and a lady came out of the woods, well, not out of the woods, off the side of the trail, waving us down, saying that the mountain was closed. And there was nothing going on. There were no fires. This was years ago, so it wasn't like there was anything to do with the lockdown. You know, and we continued to ride in. We rolled right past her. Mountain very much was not closed. So, you know, it's just kind of funny to me how people people will just try to throw out those red herrings to try to, you know, dissuade people from doing stuff. And it's really stupid, you know. Especially like that, like those girls were saying, like the weird pink tape that looks like, you know, like yard marking tape that was purchased at Home Depot or something. I've actually in this particular parking lot, I've actually gotten notes on my windshield saying that my license plate was offensive to the Christian community in this area, and that's when I had it was an Iron Maiden reference. Yeah, it's just funny to me how people kind of conjure up their own rules like this. The other funny thing, like those girls also said, they just went up, there's another way into that trail, which is like literally like 4 feet to the left. And all they have to do is go around, you know. But anyway, so, well, that's it for this particular ride. I hope you like this kind of raw vlog riding here. I just decided to start doing it just for the sake of doing it. I'm riding, so I might as well share some thoughts on some certain things while I'm doing it. And, you know, I hope you guys like it. So maybe I'll do another one next week. So until then, I'll see you guys later.